My phone number is 619-317-2369. I'll repeat it for you just in case. So it's 619-317-2369. Feel free to message me, contact me anytime. Basically, what I would do is I would find out what kind of activism you want to do, what your passion is, how much time availability you have, and then what I would do is I would try to put you into some one of our areas.
We are back with Daniel Rold. So, if
So
you could give intactivists advice, what would it be?
the one thing I would say is that we need people that, talking the talk is wonderful, but we need people that walk the walk. Doing outreach and stuff like that is not as fun as getting feedback on your 5 likes or 10 likes that you get, the little dopamine. Because that's kind of what it is we get a little dopamine response when we get our likes, because we feel like people are connecting with us or whatever. So it's that's where you get this addiction to social media. Social media is a tool, but it's a limited tool, and it's really like literally the tool of the people that are oppressing us. So um, it's to me a lot of intactivists, they're just circle jerking on social media, and it was into the circle jerk.
Yeah.
I
So if like if you join NLI, would you ever be like out protesting, or is this all online?
Well, the thing is like you kind of asked me what we're kind of like an overall of what we try to do is we try to be a force multiplier, but utilizing I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Edward Bernays, but he was probably the most influential person in your life that you've never heard about. Just Google Edward Bernays on YouTube and watch some of the videos on him. He was a master manipulator. His uncle was Freud, and he used Freud's research into psychology and into to basically sell products. And so he was very good. I'll give you an example. He used a Easter parade protest in the 1930s to literally shatter the taboo on women smoking overnight and double the profits of the tobacco industry. Uh, During the Easter parade, he paid these socialite women to basically light up a cigarette when the media was taking pictures of them, and he paid the newspapers to write articles. One example was "Torches of Freedom: Women break the taboo of smoking and claim their right to be, a human being," or whatever it is. They were basically playing on the women's suffrage movement and women's rights movement, which I completely support. Um, I support all human rights, but anyways, so he overnight broke the taboo, and that's kind of like we're trying to use things like that. Like, what can we do as an individual, as a one person? How can I influence a culture? So with the Bloodstained Men, we have this massive tool. It's a lever that I can use, that I can use to get more media coverage to our information, and hopefully to improve the quality of the media coverage, which is what we did. And so I think our outreach over the last 4 years has proven, that these systems work. I mean, it is, like I said, internet marketing. The next one we're going to be going into is midwives and doulas. We're going to start, first off, we're going to create a certification. And so I don't know if you've ever been a licensed person, or if you know somebody that has a license from the state or from the to do a career or a job. For instance, a physical therapist has to have a license, a doctor has to have a license, a dentist have to have a license, massage therapists have to have a license, personal trainers have to have a license, even an estheticians or whatever, people that do makeup and hair cutting and all that kind of stuff have to have a license. So you have to recertify every so often. So I was a trainer and I did orthopedic rehab for 20 years. And so I would have to recertify every 2 years. And so I would have to pay for these. First off, you have to pay for these courses. So you have to pay to attend these courses. Then you have to pay for the recertifying fee. And it's how these certifying agencies make their money, right? And it's also how they make sure that you're continuing your education. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a midwives and doulas certification program that's very science-based, and we're hoping to get CEUs or continuing education units for midwives and doulas to become recertified. So this will be a free online certification that any midwives and doulas can go take. They can then get certified, and then they can turn these hours into their certifying agency to count towards their certification. Plus, we're also going to market them. The certification is IFC or Intact Friendly Certified. So they can put next to their names, like, for instance, you see MD, or sometimes you'll see like certain initials next to somebody's names, and those names they're indicative of some certification that they have. So this will be IFC.
You're
So
saying
it's going to be
that
an online.
NLI would be able to give CEUs or continuing education units to like nurses and midwives?
That's our goal. So um, we do databases, right? So we've been doing our databases. So we have about 300 parenting organizations. Some of these are certifying agencies like DONA International or Evidence-Based Birth. I think we're going to start with Evidence-Based Birth. Number one, it's the most reputable. It's a very, very high quality institution, and they're very pro intactivism. In fact, they've actually had articles on their website that are intactivist articles. And so Evidence-Based Birth is one of the top certifying agencies for doulas. And so, yeah, we're going to go to them, and we're going to say, this is a course, here's the curriculum, here's the number of hours. This is, and this person, has went through this course. Can we give them, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 CEUs or contact at whatever it's going to be. Each one of them does it a little bit differently. This is a free CEU. They don't have to pay for. And so, you have to have a certain number of CEUs every 2 years to keep your license current. And so I need midwives and doulas, and we're going to also market their services. So I don't know. I was a personal trainer. So I was certified as a personal trainer, national certification. So I had to go through this and recertify every 2 years, like I said. And so that's kind of how I understand this. But if you think about this, okay, like as a trainer, I had to go out and I have to get my own clients. I have to do my own sales. I built up referral systems through chiropractic and physical therapists. But physical therapists, when you go into physical therapy, like you're going to have like all these people being referred to you from the hospital usually, so usually you'll join a practice somewhere and you just get referrals from the hospital. It's so easy to be a physical therapist. This is guaranteed money. The insurance company is going to pay for it. Okay. Personal trainer is completely different. You have to go get the client, right? So in doulas and midwives, it's kind of similar, whereas midwives are more like in the system. Doulas are kind of outside the system. So doulas have to market their own business. They have to get their own clientele. So that's kind of like the second benefit that we offer for midwives and doulas, is that not only do you get free CEUs, but you're also going to be able to be marketed by our website. So we're going to have a website that's going to have all of our graduates on it. And so somebody can, and if you go through like Evidence-Based Birth or DONA International, you can see this on their website where they'll have like practitioner databases. So you could go to your state. So like I'm in Texas or something. Let's say I'm in Texas. I go to the state of Texas and I can find an Intact Friendly Certified doula in Austin, Texas. Just imagine that in itself can, in the next 5 or 10 years, we'll start driving business to these midwives and doulas. As intactivism starts to grow, and it is growing, we will not lose this war. We may lose a couple battles, like that AMA thing going on that happened recently. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but the American Medical Association just recently solidified their position on circumcision, basically parroting the AAP's 2012 abomination of science and ethics. Anyways, that is one of the things that I see for intactivism. You kind of asked me like, what would I recommend for intactivism? First off, don't stop doing social media. Just don't get wrapped up in it. Don't spend hours on it. Okay. Get on there, send a few posts, respond a few times, but then get out of there, and don't get caught up in endless debates with cutters who are entrenched. Don't waste your time with those people. you know, and get caught up in this long thread where you spend hours doing that, because we need really good volunteers, and we can put you to work. We have a recording, basically what we do right now, and I'm still involved in researching the software, but I've had some really good results from it. Is that you basically make a phone call. We have this database right now. So right now we're doing this with the media database. So we want to inform the media. So we have this huge database. The Bloodstained Men aren't always on tour, but we have this database that we've already built, right? So we're going to utilize it. So what we're doing right now is I send the recording. So it's a recording. The Intactivist plays the recording on a voice message. This is part of tele-intactivism phase 3, right? Because we've already got the data. We send them, and you also send them an email. You send them the web forms, and then you follow up with the phone call. And the phone call is usually, we do it from 8 o'clock in the evening till 11 o'clock in the evening. The reason why is because we want to get their answer machines. We don't want to have a conversation with people, because when you have a conversation, hello, okay, you're going to tell them something, and then what's next? They're going to respond to it. They're going to have a conversation with you. They're not there to listen to a lecture. Well, we need them to listen to a lecture, because we're giving them information. And so with this recording, the one we're doing right now, we're focusing on giving them resources. So we're telling them about Taylor Colden Lockwood's histology study. We're telling them about Sorrell's fine touch sensitivity testing. We're telling them about Catherine Humphrey's research on early life trauma and how it affects hippocampus development. So we're giving them resources that they can, follow up with. Anyways, so that's a really cool program. I think that'll influence, because I really want to influence the entire culture of media. Like, I don't want to just influence the people that the Bloodstained Men, as the Bloodstained Men travel through these various areas, and the Bloodstained Men are such a valuable lever for us that we wouldn't even be able to have this type of influence without them. Really, it's like we would depend on them. We wouldn't have 225 articles. And I'm not even claiming that we have those articles. I'm just saying that we influenced them, and I know we did. I know that our work has come to fruition, and I know that we've massively increased the number, but we're not trying to take credit for it. I don't want to come off as taking credit for the work the Bloodstained Men are doing. But yeah, I mean, we just got to think smartly. We got to think of what can we do to influence high value people that can influence other targets. So if I had somebody that said, you know what, I'm a hardcore Christian, I'm a Christian intactivist, or even a Muslim, if I had a Muslim intactivist who said, I'm really a Muslim, and I really believe in the Quran, and I know that this is against the Quran, and anyways, I really want to do a program, we could set them up. Okay, so what I would do is I would show them how to do the database, show them how to do the targeted, a very targeted script that you email them with phase 2, and then, give you a script for phone calls. I could totally set up someone and let them take the reign of it. So we want to empower intactivists to do more things, right? We want to give systems to people that they can do more things. Because if I create a system that somebody that can then utilize, that we've already proven with the media, and they take it and they run with it and they do something with it, where they maybe go to, like, maybe say someone who's a child psychologist and they're an intactivist as well, and they want to reach out to other child psychologists, we could give you a system. Okay, and this is how we maximize our influence and potential. Okay, so if I set up these systems, and I have 5 people right now running phone calls every night, right? And they're leaving 3 to 5 messages every night. That's 5 people running 3 to 5 messages. That's 25 messages every night. And then if that's happening week over week, and I'm not even doing the messages, and somebody else is doing it, but I set that up. You see how I'm influencing these number of people to do something that's being more effective and efficient than just sitting on social media. And like I said, I totally, everything I know about this comes from social media. I wouldn't even be doing this if it wasn't for social media. I found out about this through social media, but we have to outreach outside of that, because I think we are being shadow banned. We are being, when you say things that are not popular, the powers that be don't want you saying these things. They will limit, and they won't even tell you. They have proprietary software that they don't even share with you. That's why the whole thing of Twitter coming out with their proprietary software, and and open sourcing their software was such a big deal. Facebook's not doing that, and so and I've noticed our limits on Facebook. I mean, I was really hardcore into doing activism on Facebook, but then I realized that it's just not the way to do things. We are not reaching new people, and the media outreach it's really effective. And we could duplicate this in any number of targets. So anybody that comes to me and say, hey, I have this, some people they have like a passion or a drive, and maybe they are part of one of these groups, right? And I could set them up. That would be a way to influence them. Another person could come to me and say, look, I don't have time to run a whole program myself, but I have 15 20 minutes a night. Okay, well, we could put you to work gathering data, which is phase one. We still need to get New York data. We're still working on that. We could have you set up on phone calls. You're making phone calls, leaving messages on reporters.
How would the people volunteer? Like, how would they get in contact with you to do these things?
Well, I'm going to give you my phone number and my email. You can contact me either way. My website is nextlevelintactivism.com. We are recently working on our what's called the MIME library. So if you are doing social media, right, we want to support that. And one of the resources we have is called our
Do you mean
MIME
meme
library.
library? Like
Meme
meme
library. Yeah, I always say that wrong. Meme library. Yeah, the meme library. So we have a meme library 2.0. We've had it up for 4 years, but it's still up there. It's got 9,500 images on it right now. I'm still putting it on right now. I think we're still in the A's. There's like 275 subjects. Anyways, so that's online. I just wanted to mention that. My phone number is 619-317-2369. I'll repeat it for you just in case. So it's 619-317-2369. Feel free to message me, contact me anytime. Basically what I would do is I would find out what kind of activism you want to do, what your passion is, how much time availability you have, and then what I would do is I'd try to put you in some one of our areas. We need to start gathering data for midwives and doulas soon. So we need to start doing that. I'm in the process of creating that program, but we still have things that activists can be doing, like, for
Can
instance,
people text that number?
actually
Okay.
text is preferred because
Okay.
you can call me. It's sometimes harder for me to mess. So just text me. It's the easiest way, or email me at nextlevelintactivism@gmail.com. I think Dan at nextlevelintactivism.com also works, but get a hold of me. We can find something for you to do that is way, way, way more effective than circle jerking with your friends on social media. Way more effective.
Definitely
Way more.
sounds like you have a lot going on. There's just seems
It's a lot of things, but we have so we got the media, but the media we've been doing for 4 years, so we're really solid on that. The midwives and doulas program we're creating right now, I'm in the process of it, and it's going to be fantastic. It's open for all intactivists, anybody really. I don't care who you are. You should take this course. But if you want to know all the details, I'll give you an example. One video was this intactivist talking to a doctor, and if the intactivist knew the anatomy, it would have just been a guaranteed win. I mean, they totally won the argument anyways, but it was one of James Lohan's Bonobo 3D, who's on YouTube as Bonobo 3D. If you haven't been in his channel, it's a fantastic channel. But anyways, there's a recording of a doctor, and it's in front of one of the AAP protests. And the doctor was so ignorant. She was telling the intactivists that they didn't have to break the foreskin from its adhesions to the glands, right? Which is the first step, literally, of circumcision. So this lady doesn't even know the anatomy. The part is called the balano-prepubital lamina. And balano has something to do with I don't know, it's a prefix for genital area. Prepubital means before puberty, which, as we all know, most intactivists know that the average age of retraction is 10 to 18. So the tissue is adhered. Prepubital lamina, it's just a lamina, it's an adhesion, right? So it's a balano-prepubital lamina. If you can remember that, I mean, that's just a little nugget of anatomy. But when you can pump out these anatomy terms like this, these doctors will know that that they don't know. Okay, and it's a very powerful thing. So I want to encourage people to take this course because it'll give you resources and information in an overall way. I mean, I'm getting into like brain anatomy. I think that one of the most important things to understand about this issue is how this literally affects brain anatomy. This happens at what's called the critical period. Okay, this is when your brain is developing synapses at an exponential rate. Okay, it's just this hugely fast rate where you're born with like 100 billion neurons. And then, but they're really the most important thing that happens is building of these connections, right? So you're not really building neurogenesis, you're not really building new neurons after birth. You're just connecting them and reconnecting them. And part of the process of developing those neurons is creating these connections between the neurons and also pruning the connections that should not be connected. So this whole process is really influenced to the max amount at the critical period. The analogy I use, it's like a meteor going through space, right? The earlier another meteorite hits that meteor, the earlier in its projection, at the present time, the further the influence, right? So if I hit a meteor at a year ago, the change in projection is not near as much as if I hit it 10,000 years ago, right? The change in projection is going to be massive, right? If I hit it 10,000 years ago, the earlier in life the trauma happens, the worse the repercussions are throughout the child's life. So the earlier this to a baby than it is to do to a 3-year-old. It's worse to do this to a 3-year-old than it is to do to a 10-year-old. It's worse to do this to a 10-year-old than it is to do it to a 20-year-old. So doing it to a baby is literally the worst time you could do this. And so you have to understand how the brain grows and develops in order to understand how this influences every aspect of our society. We live in a different world because of this. If this did not happen to our babies, our world would be completely different. Our lives, every single one of our lives would be different. Our entire history would be different. Like, people don't realize this is one of the worst things you could possibly do to a human being, and it's at the worst time that you could possibly do it. And so this is why this information is so important and powerful. And this is why, dude, I am so excited about it, because in my activist brain, I'm thinking, what are my resources as a human being? Well, what can I do? Okay, my biggest resources was Bloodstained Men, and it was untapped. It was untapped, and I'm like, okay, I have to do this. I have to fill this hole. I have to plug this hole in the activist wall, right? So we did that, and we plugged that hole. And I know there's no other thing I could have done that would be so as influential as this. There's nothing I could have done with my time. No Facebook post I could have come close to doing, reaching 225 media articles in 4 years, including 2 years of COVID, right? This is a massive number of increase in articles. So that was the number one thing I could possibly do as a human being. The next thing I could think, what is the next thing I could possibly do as a human being? To send a freaking army into the hospitals of women who are highly educated. That is the next most influential thing I could possibly do as me, Daniel Rold, this one little dude making minimum wage. And we are going to need more volunteers. Okay. We're building more options, more opportunities. So with this midwives and doulas thing, I'm about maybe I'm about a third done with the entire program, right? Once the entire program's completely done, I'm going to bring it to Marilyn Milos, Doctors Opposing Circumcision, a couple other, higher up in activists, and I'm going to show this to them, try to get their support, and then I'm going to start going to like evidence-based birth and stuff like that. But we are going to need people making phone calls to these doulas and midwives. We already have a huge database right now of New York, we have Pennsylvania, we have California, and I'm talking like 600, 700 of these midwives and doulas and people that we can start calling immediately as soon as this program's online. So once I'm done writing the program, I'm going to put it in a website, okay, and I'm going to get donation money for that, because I'm going to ask for donations. It's one of the rare times that NLI does any donations at all. We only do donations for when we need resources. We are completely volunteer based. Okay, so nobody's getting money. There's no There's no salary or anything like that. This is all volunteer based. I didn't want to be corrupted with money. I didn't want to become a nonprofit or anything like that. Although I support that, like for instance, like Brett Johnson's cockfight.org. Definitely, if you're interested in giving donations, give donations to Brett Johnson. He's very good with those donations. So is Bloodstained Men, Intact America. I support all those groups. But anyways, yeah, I think if I could get some people that are willing to, and even like, making phone calls or helping us to send emails to these midwives and doulas once that program, we're gonna send. I mean, just think about this. Matt, I mean, because this program is going to be very involved. It's going to be very in depth. Like I'm going into the basics of anatomy. You have to understand histology in order to understand keratinization, right? Like obviously it's protective function. And then men that are circumcised, like myself, I'm 46. I can look down. I can see like the actual like cracks in the surface, right? What was I saying? So, anyways, people have to know that the mucosal surface is a thinner. Like if you look at histology, like the dermis, you have like all these different layers, that create this keratinized water, this porous surface that is your skin, right? Well, mucosal surface is a far thinner tissue. It doesn't have the same structure, and so understanding this is really important to understanding how keratinization works.
I
So,
think Forgin is doing a
people,
histology study.
yes, I can't wait to get all the results of that. Although they have given some results, I'm still like waiting to, like I want to know like what the number is, like what the actual count is, like how many Meissner corpuscles per square inch or per square centimeter of this portion. You know what I mean? I want to know that stuff. I think there's a lot of research that could be done that we need to be done. I even thought about this before, is like approaching having a whole program for sexologists and sex researchers, and having, like having an MRI of a intact man having an orgasm and comparing it to a circumcised man and seeing the difference in an MRI with literally how the brain fires up. Like that's, I mean, they talk about neuroplasticity and stuff like that. I mean, neuroplasticity is limited by I don't know if you guys follow this, but neuroplasticity is the argument that your brain repurposes those neurons to other areas, and that may be in some cases true, which I think for instance, neuroplasticity into the prostate gland could be a reason why some men become and I'm not saying that this is the only reason, of course. I just have to be careful with what I say because I don't want to deride anyone. But I think that some neuroplasticity can rewire to certain areas of the body. But anyways, knowing all this stuff, like knowing how the amygdala functions, knowing how the hypothalamus functions, and the pituitary gland, and all these, and the fight or flight nervous system, and how early life trauma influences trauma response, and even what's called amygdala hijacking, which is where the amygdala completely takes over, and you have these humans, organisms under stress of trauma or violence, and you have this amygdala response, and this amygdala basically hijacks your logical thinking brain, and it takes your resources and it focuses them onto the reptilian brain, the deeper core survival mechanisms. Say, we need your help, we need your support. We will put you to work, and we will give you things that will help you massively increase your ability to save babies. And I will help you, and we need your help. So if your goal is to be an activist and you care about this, we want to give you resources, and we want to put you to work with effective and efficient outreach that will vastly improve your ability to save babies. And we can do this as a group together. The more of us that do this, the more influence we each have. The more each individual we put into work together, that individual grows our own influence and our own ability. So it is kind of like some little weird multi-level marketing type of thing. But think about this, we can maximize our own potential by helping influence other people. And so that's what we're about. We're about getting people to do actions. And if you're hardcore about something, I can set you up in an entire program. You could be the leader, seriously. Or if you just have a few hours a night, or 20 minutes a night, whatever it is, we can put you to work.
All right, awesome. Thank you for that, Daniel. That's all the
All
time
right.
we
Thank you
have.
so much for listening.
All right, yep. Have a
Yeah.
good
All
one.
right. You guys too.